see how he's doing, and let him know that we're proud of him for the decision he made to go in, and obviously he has our full support. We had the information that everybody else in the league had, so it's when it's easy to look back now and say, well, what did you miss, or you can interpret something a little bit differently now, and it turns out to be a deeper rooted thing than you thought, but obviously we felt very comfortable with his background, and certainly enough to draft him. You just look at the uncertainty of where he is, and just given the small sample size, we still don't know, based on what he was going through, whether or not he is that answer. I just think there's too much unknown. Like I said, I'd obviously be scared if we had a game this weekend, but it's a position we're well aware of where our depth chart is, and we'll certainly look to address here in the coming months.
Browns head coach Mike Pettine saying he's proud of Manziel for entering rehab. You just heard that, but clearly uncertainty at the quarterback position for the Browns. Skip, after hearing his comments, what do you think he's saying about Johnny Manziel, or presume what's happening there?
Stephen A., I'm not sure where he's going with his comments. I didn't love his comments. I didn't love it that he volunteered, I went to visit Johnny in rehab, trying to come across like a good guy doing the right thing, and then trying to absolve the Browns from any blame here, trying to distance himself and his organization, saying, hey, we had all the same information everybody else had, but this is more deep-rooted than we at first thought, or at least pre-draft. Well, obviously it's deep-rooted because Johnny had a big problem, big issue that he could not control, and he needed to go to a fairly lengthy rehab to try to defeat that problem. And God bless him, I hope he does. Obviously, I said that first day that I'm very proud of Johnny Manziel. But in the big picture, there was no pre-draft information that would have tipped you off to what actually happened in the end. And yet, how many times did I say, Stephen A., before the draft, as much as I lauded the NFL potential of Johnny Manziel, almost every conversation we had, I ended it with the conditional, hey, if the alcohol somehow becomes a bigger problem and gets the best of him, then all bets are off. So trying to live up to being Johnny Football in Cleveland, trying to live up to being the LeBron client that he became from LeBron's company, trying to hang with Drake, he went over the edge into a problem that he could not control. So I don't even know why Pettine needs to speak about this publicly. It's like it's a bigger thing than Pettine right now, but I'm assuming he's trying to distance himself and to basically say, we're moving along, we're moving forward, it doesn't look good right now, and we're looking for our next quarterback. So my bottom line was, I think he was just telling everybody, we're in the market for another quarterback.
He absolutely was telling everybody he's in the market for another quarterback, and I don't blame him one bit, because the reality of the situation, how can you possibly trust your franchise to someone in rehab? It's just that simple. Sounds cruel, sounds harsh, but it also happens to be factual. If you have a substance abuse problem, that means the substance has power over you, which is why it's substance abuse, because the substance is abusing you because you can't control yourself when it comes to it. So that reality alone shows that you're devoid of leadership and you're devoid of the ability to be relied upon, because you can't even trust yourself to do what's best for you, health-wise, spiritually, physically, morally, etc. So when you've got all of those issues, it's perfectly within Mike Pettine's right to sit there and make very, very clear that they're in the market for a quarterback. Do I think it was necessary for him to say, I went to visit him and, all of this stuff? No. Do I think it was necessary for him to say some of the things that he said? No. Talking about he's proud of Johnny Manziel? Okay, fine. Y'all go ahead. Y'all be proud of him. I wish him luck. I'm praying for him. But I can't be proud of somebody that put themselves in a position to be an addict in some regard, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever the case may be. And I only mean addict. I'm not literally calling him that because I don't know. I'm simply saying that if you are in rehab, you have a problem. And you have a problem that's more powerful than your intestinal resolve to ward off that problem. I'm sorry. When it comes to that, there's a harsh reality that we have to all accept here. You've got people at the NFL scouting combine that's about to bring the hammer down on Jameis Winston. Why? Because when they interviewed Johnny Manziel last year, they said both his words were not consistent with his actions prior to the draft and in the aftermath of being drafted. In other words, they were saying that he lied to them, he fooled them, he misled them. So now, Jameis Winston and others who follow are going to be subjected to a stronger level of scrutiny. These players, now we're talking about the billion-dollar conglomerate that the NFL is, suddenly you're going to have security personnel and the like digging into people's background, digging into their private life, finding out what guys are doing, where they're going, how they're living, who's their woman, etc. All of their personal business. Now it's not going to be personal anymore because they have investments to protect, and Johnny Manziel is the poster child for an organization that says, see what happens when we place our trust in somebody? This is the kind of stuff that they're going to look at. Him, Josh Gordon, to a lesser degree, Justin Gilbert, all on the same team. And the list goes on and on. This is a problem. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, Mike Pett's absolutely right to say they're in the market for a starting quarterback. And as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't need to show any sympathy. What he needs to do is remind Johnny Manziel and everybody else that this is a business. You have your parents, your loved ones, your inner circle, your family members, to some degree even fans that are going to look out for you. We're not going to turn our backs on you, but we're not going to coddle you either, because this is a business. And in the end, business is about results. It's not about compassion. That's harsh, but it's reality.
Yeah.
I am still holding out hope that Johnny can come out the other side in control of his problem and that he can become the star that I still believe he can become. It may not be in Cleveland. It might be elsewhere. Maybe he needs a complete change of scenery. But to your point, I think you read, there's a very good piece on the front of the sports page in USA Today about Jameis Winston in the process of, it's not just with Jameis evaluating the tape, it's these little 15-minute interviews that they're going to get at the Combine. How will he react in those interviews? And then will his actions, as you point out, match the words that the teams hear going forward up to the draft? So it'll be fascinating.
Kerry,
the spotlight is going to be harsher on Jameis.
Kerry, Skip, let's close this by saying this. We don't wish any harm, bad luck, or anything on anybody. What I am trying to do is highlight what reality is. Reality is, at the end of the day, the only reason Mike Pettine and the Cleveland Browns give a damn about Johnny Manziel is because they invested the number 22 overall pick on him. That's about as far as it goes. In the end, they're in the business to try and win football games so they can generate success monetarily and otherwise for themselves. And if you don't contribute to that, then you are a liability. You are an asset or a liability. And the kids out there that could potentially find themselves in this position need to recognize that is how corporate America looks at you. Asset or liability. Nobody's doing Johnny Manziel any favors by pacifying him, coddling him, and telling him it's going to be all right. What they need to say to him is, we're proud of you for going into rehab. But if this doesn't work for you and you don't get your butt together, nobody's going to give a damn about you outside of those loved ones that you have in your inner circle. And they're not the ones that are going to give you the success that you want. That's life.
Mike Pettine.